Lesson 6. One evening, Ma Shui, a work elephant, and her 3-month-old calf were trapped in rising floodwaters in a river in Myanmar. Elephant handlers rushed to the scene when they heard the calf screaming, but could do nothing to help, for the banks were 12 to 15 feet high. Though Ma Shui's feet were still on the river bottom, her calf was floating. Ma Shui tried to use her trunk to hold the baby against her body, but soon the fast-rising water washed the calf away. Ma Shui swam 50 yards downstream to rescue it. She pinned the calf against the bank with her head, lifted it in her trunk, stood up on her back legs, and placed it on a flat rock 5 feet above the water. Then Ma Shui fell back into the current and disappeared downstream. The elephant handlers turned their attention to the calf, which could barely fit on the narrow rock where it stood shaking. Half an hour later, J.H. Williams, the British manager of the elephant camp, was looking down at the calf, wondering how to rescue it, when he heard the grandest sounds of a mother's love I can remember. Ma Shui had crossed the river and got up the bank and was making her way back as fast as she could, calling the whole time, a desperate roar, but to her calf it was music. The 2 tiny ears, like little maps of India, moved forward, listening to the only sounds that mattered, the call of her mother. When Ma Shui saw her calf safe on the other side of the river, her call changed to the low sound that elephants typically make when pleased. The handlers left the 2 elephants where they were. By morning, Ma Shui had crossed the river, no longer flooding, and the calf was off the rock. Humans, who are, after all, social animals, believe they know what love is, and esteem it highly. Yet many animal scientists are cautious about saying animals experience love. Had Williams been an animal scientist discussing Ma Shui and her calf, he would probably have described the bond between rather than the love between Ma Shui and her calf. As another observer of the animal community writes, "It is important to remember that animals are not displaying true love, but simply following their instincts." Is it really as simple as all that? What about the animals who stay together until one dies? Evolutionary biologists often say that pairing is a way to ensure sufficient parental care, but it's not always clear this is the case. Some animals continue to accompany each other when not raising their young. Mates commonly sleep together, clean each other, and in some cases look for food together. And they appear to exhibit sorrow or show a sense of loss when one of the pair dies. Konrad Lorenz, a specialist in animal behavior, described as a typical example the behavior of a goose named Ado when his mate, Suzanne Elizabeth, was killed by a fox. He stood silently by her partly eaten body, which lay across their nest. In the following days, he bent his body and hung his head. His eyes became sunken. Because he did not have the heart to defend himself from the attacks of the other geese, his status in the flock sank. A year went by. Finally, Ado pulled himself together and found another mate. Animals may fall in love dramatically. Lorenz said that certain kinds of geese are likely to fall in love when they have known each other as youngsters, been separated, and then meet again. He compared this to a man who meets a woman and, astonished that she is the same girl he used to see running around in a school uniform, falls in love and marries her. According to a parrot behavior consultant, Maddie Sue Athan, it is common for some of the larger species of parrots to fall in love at first sight. Instinct may urge animals to love, but it does not say whom they will love, though it may drop heavy hints. Seeking a mate for a male parrot, Athan pursued a young female parrot with beautiful feathers and introduced the two birds. To Athan's disappointment, the male acted like the female wasn't even in the room. A few months later, Athan was given an older female in noticeably bad condition. She didn't have a feather from the neck down, she says. The skin on her feet was all rough. She had wrinkles around her eyes. And yet the male thought she was the love of his life. The two birds immediately paired off and eventually started a family.